Hello and welcome. On today's video, I will be talking about how to get into a healthy relationship, right? Because that's what we all want at the end of the day, to love somebody and for someone to love us back. So, how do we get into relationships where we feel loved, where we feel seen, our needs are met, and we can receive that love and give that love back? So, on this video, I will be addressing the four different emotional attachment styles because depending on your emotional attachment style, it will determine how do you give love and how do you receive love. So let's dive into it. I wanted to start with why people fall into certain categories of an emotional attachment style is at the core, they are afraid of being alone. Like if they look deep down, they are afraid of being alone. And because they are afraid, they either fall into an anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style. Yes, avoidant people, they want closeness too. They want relationships, but they are afraid of it. This is why they avoid it, even though deep down they do want it and they do desire it. And then the next one is going to be a disorganized or fearful. It's kind of the combination of the two. It's the anxious and the avoidant. And the one that gets us into a healthy relationship is the secure emotional attachment style. So let's dive into each one of these and see so that maybe you can see where do you fall into, what category do you fall in. And before we dive into them, I wanted to say that a lot of people are afraid of being single for some of the reasons, and I want to show you, to see where are you, why are you maybe not happy in a relationship, but you are still staying there. So, yes, we address that you are afraid of being lonely, but why are you afraid of being lonely? So, one of them could be societal pressures. You feel like you are maybe too old to start a new relationship, like you've invested a lot of time into this relationship. So, all of those limiting beliefs, all of those pressures kind of force you into staying in this relationship, even though it's not benefiting you, even though you might be dying emotionally in that relationship, your needs are not being met, it might be abusive, emotionally abusive, but you still stay because you're afraid of being alone. And it seems like maybe you might look like a failure, like you have a failed marriage, or you're in this relationship for 10 years and it looks like a failure. But instead, what you can think about is, you know what? Like that was a lesson learned. Yes, I've invested many years into this person, but I am ready to go to the next season of my life. And it's okay if some people don't go to the next chapter of my life. But if a person is afraid of being single, they will still hold on to those people. The next one is fear of loneliness. And this is, you may feel like something is wrong with you, like you are unsuccessful, you're undesirable, you are not lovable. And this all comes from low self-esteem. So, this is also an indicator that your partner is not really pouring into you if you're not feeling loved, if you're not feeling desirable. That means that your needs are not being met. And the longer you stay in this relationship, the lower your self-esteem will go and the less confidence you will have in yourself. Next one is settling for unhealthy relationships. And because you're afraid of being single, you stay in these emotionally abusive relationships where you say, you know what? At least I'm getting this. At least I'm getting that. So you're kind of settling for less than you deserve. And the last thing, it could be a childhood trauma. So it could be like past experiences where you felt neglected or abandoned, and um, all of these feelings, they create the fear of being alone. Like you feel like being alone is not safe because nobody's there to protect you. So you feel very scared of being alone. A lot of fears come stem from this, from being alone. So now let's dive into the four emotional attachments, and you can see where do you fall, in this. So the first one I want to talk about is anxious emotional attachment style. And this is where you may need for a lot of like reassurance and validation. And this is where you're codependent, where you don't really like trust yourself. You trust the other person more. Therefore, you give them a lot of control over your life. You feel like you need them. You cannot live without them. They are your source of security, and you are really dependent on this person. This could be emotionally dependent and financially dependent on this person. Um, and this comes from fear of being rejected or abandoned, and you have a lot of self-doubt. So if you are an anxious person, you constantly doubt yourself. This is why you need their validation. Not necessarily like compliments, but like if they are with you, then you feel like you're fine. The moment they stay, like they leave you, you feel like anxious and you feel like you just cannot be alone. So, some of the things, some characteristics of this is that you constantly worry about your partner, what they are doing, who are they with, how are they spending their free time. So, constantly wanting to be kind of in control of what they are doing. Um, because when you have that sense of control, like you know where they are, you know who they are with, then you feel like your anxiety goes down. But the moment you lose control of who they are, you begin to get anxious. You also might be highly sensitive to criticism. So if they say something more like more like criticizing you, you're hurt, instead of like communicating about it and setting a boundary and saying, hey, like, that was a little bit hurtful. Can you not say those things? You don't say that, and then you take everything to heart, and then you take everything personal, and you overthink, and everything that they say holds a big value, and you're kind of giving all of that power to them. So if they say something bad, you feel bad. If they say something good, you feel good. So your mood is dependent on what they say about you. Um, So this also comes with difficulty trusting people and partners fully, fearing that they will leave you or betray you. So if they are not with you, you feel like they're going to cheat or they're gonna leave you, and this is the constant chase, because that anxiety makes you call them, check up on them, message them, and so then you become the chaser in the relationship. So anxiety pushes you to be the chaser instead of saying, you know what, it's okay. Like I trust him. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. He's gonna come home. He loves me. It's okay if he or she has their alone time because I know they will come back. But instead of thinking those thoughts, the more negative thoughts come into your mind, and those negative thoughts put you into an anxious uh, state, right? And so you have difficulties in relationships because there might be a lot of jealousy, maybe even possessiveness. They might be possessive of you, or you are possessive of them. You might be kind of clingy, where you always want to be together because if they're not with you, you go into anxious mode. And this actually stems from low self-esteem, because your worth depends on them. So when they are not with you, you feel like, another thing that might be going through you is that you feel like you deserve this type of love, or that love has to be hard, right? These are all the things that a person with anxious emotional attachment style, that's what keeps them in this relationship. They say, well, like, he's my cross to carry, or, love is supposed to be hard. You're supposed to work hard for love, or I deserve this, when they are kind of like mean to you or criticizing you, you kind of say, well, he loves me. This is why he's telling me this, right? So you almost like believe all of this criticism, where criticism can be in a good way to motivate you to do better, but if it's kind of like passive aggressive and it's kind of mean and it's hurtful and it's actually not pushing you to do better, but it's causing you to feel small, this is not going to benefit you. And here is how some ways that you can heal this anxious attachment is by developing coping mechanisms, things that will help you regulate your emotions and reduce your anxiety. And it's things like depending on if you believe in God, then this is where prayer comes in, or meditating, journaling, going for a walk, listening to podcasts, to worship music. All of those things help you regulate your nervous system. It could be things like breath work and maybe even like giving yourself a hug. This is, when you feel like you need that physical touch, sometimes you can give yourself a hug, breathe in, breathe out, and say, hey, everything's going to be okay. And it soothes your anxiety instead of reaching out for your phone, reaching out and calling them and kind of being, kind of like nagging, instead of like giving them their space. These are all the things that you can do. Hug yourself, talk to yourself, and self-soothe yourself. You also want to build a trusting relationship. So this can be with your partner. If you get anxious, then either there's thoughts in your head while you're being anxious, or they have given you a reason to be anxious. So if you feel like they might get a number, then they maybe have given you a reason. So this is not a person that has proven their trust. This is why you have trust issues. So what ends up happening, in order to heal your trust issues, you have to let go of the people that you do not trust, because you're almost in conflict. You're staying with a person that you do not trust. So this is, and it might be hard to let go of this person because you're still deeply in this relationship, but begin to build a more trusting relationship with yourself. Because when you start to build a trusting relationship with yourself, it's going to lead into other relationships with other people in your life. So maybe you can't walk away from your husband, but maybe you have friends that you don't trust, or coworkers that you don't trust, or other people. You can maybe start you know, distancing yourself from those people that you don't trust in your life. Okay, the next one is improving your self-esteem. And this, start doing activities that boost your self-worth and confidence. And it's things like making sure you're eating healthy, drinking more water, having good sleep. You would be surprised that all of these, you would think basic things, but they actually heal your anxiety. This is how I healed my anxiety. I used to have a lot of anxiety, and it's really, I noticed it's the basic things. When I have a good night's sleep, when I eat not junk food, but when I eat my vegetables, my fruits, my grains, like the healthy meals, I'm drinking a lot of water, not just running on coffee, then I feel much more calmer. So start doing these things and they will make your nervous system much more calmer. Um, also, it's things like exercising. And, if you're a believer in God, then really dive into a deeper relationship with God and surround yourself with healthier people, people that are, they have a healthy body and they have a healthy mind. This is where these are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with. So get rid of the toxic people and replace them with more secure and healthy people, people that don't criticize you, but support you. So that's in a nutshell of what anxious attachment looks like. Now let's dive into the avoidant. So avoidant people, they are usually self-reliant. It seems like they are pretty independent. They don't really need anybody, but they do desire relationships. They do desire intimacy. They do desire closeness, but they are afraid of it. This is why they avoid it. So it's people that avoid emotional connection. and closeness in relationships. Um, and I wanted to make a note that if you've been in a long relationship, you might actually go from being anxious into avoidant. So, because you've been hurt so much by this person and they've have ignored your emotional needs or physical needs, that you begin to transition into more avoidant. So you begin to shut down, you begin to numb your emotions, and you kind of get into avoidance. So some people are from early on they are avoidant, and some people can transition into avoidant attachment style, depending how long you've been in a relationship. And if it wasn't safe for you to talk about your emotions, if you feel like it wasn't safe for you to talk about your needs, you can become avoidant. So, so you feel uncomfortable or fearful of emotional closeness or intimacy, sharing your thoughts and feelings. So you may also suppress or minimize your emotions, and you have difficulty expressing how you feel openly, right? You feel like it's not safe to talk about how you deeply feel because you feel like you're going to be criticized, you might be laughed at. All of these negative things, they prevent you from opening up how you feel. You also may avoid conflict or having hard conversations with your partner, and because you feel like you may be rejected or abandoned. Like, they won't want to talk about it, or they may say, like, you're making things up. So they make you feel belittled. So you tend to avoid having hard conversations. And I want to shortly say that there might be actually two avoidant type of people, and that's dismissive avoidant. So they tend to dismiss the importance of relationships, and it may, so these type of people, they may appear like they are distant, they are cold, like they are independent. So they think that relationships are not important, but deep down, they do want a relationship. And there's also the fearful avoidant. And those people, they get to, they're anxious when they're with somebody. When somebody gets too close, they actually get anxious because somebody's getting a little bit too close. Somebody is getting to know them a little bit too much that they want to. So it's like they kind of transition from avoidant to anxious. And this is where actually a lot of narcissistic people are, because it kind of creates that push and pull dynamic in the relationship. And these people are kind of unpredictable, and they have high anxiety. So they go from very anxious to very avoidant. And when they feel anxious, they kind of want you, and then they push you back because they're trying to avoid you because now you're getting too close. So this is where kind of like narcissistic people fall into fearful avoidant category. So how do you heal this part of you? And this is, if you are trying to gain this knowledge for your partner, I would really encourage that, it's good to share this information with them, but a person won't want to change until they realize that like they're hitting rock bottom. They have to want to change. Like it's good to know that your partner is this so that you know how to handle them. But the best thing to do if you see that your partner is not meeting your needs, you're trying to talk about it, is to leave the relationship, create distance. If you're married, I'm not saying divorce, but maybe your marriage needs a little bit of a timeout. If you guys have tried therapy and it's not working, if you have tried consulting and it's not working, then maybe like living apart, because when you live apart, both people begin to analyze their life. And if a person really loves you, they will start to change because they see that, oh my gosh, this person, I need this person, I love them, I cannot live without them. What do I need to change in my life in order to be with this person, right? And I actually wanted to, I don't know, this thought came into my mind and I want to share it. Kind of like when you fall in love with God, and you seek a relationship with God, you know that in order to live a Christian life, you have to get rid of some stuff. You got to get rid of sins. You got to get rid of certain desires and your fleshly desires. Now you can't walk in freedom. Yes, it is freeing to be in Christianity, but there's kind of like guidelines to it. And same thing with a romantic relationship. If a person is really committed to you, then there's things they have to give up. But what ends up happening right now a lot is that people don't really want to give that up. They don't really want to give up like who they are. And it's important to be like who you are, but if you are in a relationship, you have to respect the other people's boundaries. And if they have needs and if they're speaking up about it, it's your responsibility to meet their needs if you want this relationship to work. Okay, so let's dive. How can you heal an avoidant attachment style? Is not to be afraid of emotions. So avoidant people, they are afraid of emotions. They don't really know what to do with them. So they suppress them or they minimize. So if you're trying to get out of this, you actually want to not be afraid of them and learn to face them and process them. Um, so anxious people are usually too emotional, where avoidants are very cold or just numb to their emotions. So you want to almost kind of like awaken and start feeling things again and not be afraid of feeling certain feelings. Begin to build a healthier relationship with yourself and start trusting yourself. This is actually where you may need someone's help to help you and guide you through it because feeling feelings, if you've been suppressing them for a long time, it may feel overwhelming. This is why you want to get a mentor, a therapist, a coach, someone to help you, guide you, and show you how do you deal with your emotions. Um, and I want to mention this. This is where a lot of narcissists, they kind of like realize that they are narcissists. And I've seen narcissists kind of go to therapy, but they actually admit themselves that it takes them years in therapy to rewire everything that they've learned. So, if you feel like you are with a narcissistic person, yes, they can realize that they are narcissists, but they have to want to change it. And they pretty much cannot do it alone because there's a lot of rewiring that needs to be done on a subconscious level because they have to choose not to hurt you because for years they have been choosing to hurt people because they've been hurt. So now they're projecting all of that hurt to other people. So, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Also, become self-aware where you are doing things intentionally. So, like for example, if you give a lot of passive aggressive, not compliments, but statements, right? Where you're being very passive aggressive, so start breaking those hurtful habits because you know what hurts you, so you hurt people just the same way that you were hurt. So you have to take accountability. You know what? I just hurt that person. Let me go apologize. Hey, let me start changing this, like all of these passive aggressive statements that I'm making into more genuine and kinder statements. Um, and so that's kind of in a nutshell of what avoidant emotional attachment style is. And now let's go into a fearful or disorganized attachment style. And this category is more of the self-sabotaging people where they fall into this, where it's kind of inconsistent, it's kind of unpredictable behavior in relationship, and it's kind of a mix of anxiety and avoidance, right? And if you would think that, oh, like I am, anxious people can become avoidant, and avoidant people do have a lot of anxiety, and fearful is very like fear-based, where like anxiety is as well, but you're mostly anxious. Like you're avoidant, but you get to the avoidant later. Like anxious is like your main source, where avoidant, the main thing is to avoid emotions, right? Anxious people are usually people that are very emotional, so they're usually more anxious. And the people that are colder to their emotions, they're more avoidant. But fearful, it's kind of like like it's kind of both. Like they have a lot of emotions and then they suppress a lot of emotions too, right? So it's kind of like the combination of the two. Um, so it's a mix of wanting closeness, but then also fearing it, leading you to push and pull the dynamic in the relationships. Struggling to trust and be vulnerable in relationships. Like anxious people usually are pretty open about how they feel, right? But avoidance usually are not like vulnerable. But if you are a combination of the two, like you will be vulnerable. In the relationship, uh, but um, you see that you've been hurt by being vulnerable, so you begin to shut down. So you have difficulty regulating your emotions, you have a lot of mood swings, and you have a lot of difficulty managing stress. Like if you are emotional, you go into stress mode and you can't really work, you can't really do regular things, like kind of like take care of yourself. Like you really like stress really takes over your life. Um, and this is where you can go from clingy to distant, where anxious people are mostly like clingy and avoidant people are mostly distant, whereas the fearful people, they're kind of the combination of the two. Like they go from clingy to distant. Um, and this is where you can sabotage your relationship by either pushing partners away or acting in ways where you almost like trigger conflict. Like you always like you're insecure, you always think that they are talking to somebody, there's a lot of jealousy. So you may like sabotage these relationships because you feel like if they are not with you, they are cheating on you. So it's always this like trust, kind of like trust issues. So how do you heal this part? Again, become self-aware that this is what you are struggling with, and where are you clingy and where are you like pushing people away? So you want to heal both of those areas. So wherever you are pushing people away, because of trust issues, like figure out why are you pushing away? Is it trust? Is it jealousy? Is like what is it, right? And then you want to heal that part. If it's the clingy part, figure out why can't you be alone? Why are you holding on to them so much? So heal that part. So you kind of have healing work to do on both spectrums. And this part goes with a lot of forgiveness, forgiving people that hurt you, and a lot of forgiving yourself and accepting. So, kind of like if it goes to your partner, so you kind of have to accept them for who you are instead of wanting to change them. Instead of changing them, change yourself. And who knows, maybe your relationship will get better when you start healing these areas of your life. Um, so start taking accountability and desire to change. Because if you only want your partner to change, but you're not changing, then you're not really taking accountability. But I've seen a lot of relationships get better because both people wanted to work on themselves, or even one person. And when you start working on yourself, things begin to shift in your relationship as well. So begin to seek more healthy and safe environments. You might be dealing with this because the people that you are surrounded with, you are not safe with them. And this is why you have the trust issues. And this could be more healthy environments like healthier friends, getting a coach, a mentor. So just really surrounding yourself with more trustworthy people. Um, because if you have a lot of, narcissists in your life, a lot of people that abuse you, that creates a not very safe environment. So start getting into group chats with support. Maybe start join like a small group at church, people that you trust. Maybe you don't open up, but at least you see that these are healthy people. They are living amazing. They're in amazing relationships. So start seeing how do they react? What do they talk about? How do they get there, right? And so your environment is huge. Start changing your environment. And the last one, if you've made it this far, thank you so much because this is where the good stuff is. And the last one is secure attachment. These are the people that are self-assured. Like they are confident, they are okay if they are in a relationship, if they are alone, they live an amazing, abundant life. They don't live in scarcity. They are not fear-driven. They know that everything is working out for their good. If a relationship didn't work out, hey, it's okay. That means somebody better is coming, or maybe there's things I need to change in myself in order to get into a better, healthier relationship. So they kind of are not as emotionally not attached. They are emotionally attached, but there's not so much negativity. You know, it's less negative emotions and more positive emotions that they are focusing on. So they trust their partners. And also, it's important to choose the right partner. If you are, with a manipulator, an abuser, it's going to be very hard to trust that kind of person. This is why you want to leave those kind of people. And they're emotionally available. They're able to communicate their needs and feelings openly. They're not scared to talk about their feelings, and they are not afraid to talk about when they're hurt, when they want a need to be met. They are okay to talk about their emotions. They understand and respect healthy boundaries, so they value both being together and keeping their individuality. So they understand that, hey, there's time that we are together, and there's times where you do and there's times that I do for myself. Like I can go on a walk and you'll be okay. Like you can hang out with some of your friends and everything's gonna be okay. Like they are not anxious that this person's gonna leave them or that something's gonna go wrong, right? They just feel very secure. And also important, they don't lose themselves in a relationship. So if they had hobbies, they still have their hobbies and their interests. They feel safe and secure. They walk away from people that don't respect them. So respect is huge. They respect the other people and they want the other person to respect them as well. When they're going through something, they know how to constructively resolve a problem with care, support, and forgiveness to themselves. So they are emotionally intelligent and they can process their own emotions. They are confident in themselves, not afraid to be alone, and they trust people and they don't have the fear of abandonment. They're not afraid to get emotionally or physically close to people, yet they have their own independence. Like this is huge. Like they are not codependent on the other person. They communicate openly, manage their emotions well, they are reliable and trustworthy. So they are on time, they keep their promises, and they are kind of like a man of their word or a woman of their word. And this is where the best relationships are. Um, and where these relationships last a long time between two secure people. And this happens between friends, family, and romantic relationships. This is why if you have a friend that's also secure and you are secure, that's going to be your friend for a very, very long time. Same thing with family members. If you guys have, gone through your difficulties and talked about stuff and both forgave each other, these relationships will work for a very long time. Same thing with romantic things. If you can get past through this and find like the middle ground and start to feel safe about talking about your emotions, you will get into the secure attachment. So if these are, this is where you want to be, and if you are struggling with any of these emotional attachment styles, I do coach one-on-one. I will have the links down below. I do have more videos that you are welcome to watch, and that's it for today, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.